the conference room on the 47th floor of Sterling Technologies gleamed with floor-to-ceiling windows. Overlooking downtown Seattle, Marcus Chen stood beside the mahogany table, not at it, his hands, roughened from years of industrial cleaner and bleach, gripped the handle of his cleaning cart. He was invisible here, just another janitor in a navy blue uniform, pushing his cart through a world of people who earned more in an hour than he made in a month. He didn't see the little girl slip through the door he'd propped open. He didn't see her brown eyes widen as she took in the room, full of executives in $1,000 suits. He only heard her voice, clear and proud as a bell, cutting through the silence. "Excuse me, which one of you is Mr. Sterling?" Every head turned. Marcus's heart stopped. "Sophie," he whispered, horrified. "Baby, what are you doing here?" But 6-year-old Sophie Chen wasn't looking at her father. She was looking at the silver-haired man at the head of the table, the one whose face had been on the cover of Forbes magazine just last month, and then she said the words that would change everything. "My dad cleans your toilets, but he's the best daddy ever." Before we continue, if stories like this one touch your heart, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, leave a comment telling us what stories you'd like to hear next, and don't forget to hit that like button. Your support helps us share more stories of hope, resilience, and the extraordinary power of love. Now, let's go back to where it all began. Dr. Marcus Chen had once been someone different, someone who wore tailored suits instead of janitors' uniforms, someone who designed microprocessor architecture for aerospace systems instead of mopping floors where those systems were discussed. The photo still sat on his dresser at home, tucked in the back where Sophie wouldn't accidentally knock it over. Marcus and his wife Lily on their wedding day, both of them laughing, both of them brilliant MIT graduates with the world spread out before them like a promise. That was before Lily got sick. It started small. Headaches she dismissed as stress. Fatigue she blamed on their demanding jobs and caring for baby Sophie. By the time they found the tumor, it was already stage 4, glioblastoma, the word that destroyed their life in 4 syllables. Marcus took a leave of absence from his position at Vertex Aerospace Systems. Lily needed him, Sophie needed him. The medical bills started piling up, first as a trickle, then as a flood. "We have savings," Marcus told Lily one night in the hospital, holding her hand while machines beeped their clinical rhythm. "We'll be fine." "Marcus," her voice was already getting weaker, "promise me something, anything. Don't let them take Sophie." "Your parents, they'll try." She paused, gathering strength. "They never thought I was good enough for you. Chinese-American engineer marrying a Vietnamese refugee's daughter. They barely came to the wedding." "Lily, promise me, no matter what happens, no matter how hard it gets, you keep our daughter. You raise her to be proud of who she is, both sides of her heritage. Promise me." Marcus pressed his forehead to her hand. "I promise." "Always." Lily died 3 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning while Marcus sang her favorite song, and Sophie slept in a chair beside them, too young to understand that mommy wasn't going to wake up. The savings lasted for months, then the home equity line, then the 401k. The medical debt was a mountain that no salary could climb, not when he also had a 2-year-old daughter who couldn't be left alone. Vertex Aerospace was understanding at first, then they were patient, then they were practical. "Marcus, we need someone who can travel, someone who can put in the hours. We can't hold this position indefinitely." He took the severance package. It bought him 3 more months. His parents made their move exactly 1 week after he was laid off. They arrived on a Sunday afternoon, his mother's face already set in that expression of disappointed certainty he'd known his whole life. "We've consulted with an attorney," his father said, settling into Marcus's threadbare couch like a judge taking the bench. "You're unemployed. You have no prospects. You're living in a 2-bedroom apartment in a questionable neighborhood." "We're doing fine," Marcus said, even though Sophie's daycare had called twice that week about his late payments. "Sophie deserves stability." His mother's voice was sharp. "We can provide that. Good schools, piano lessons, a future. She has a future. With me." "As what?" "The daughter of a failure." The word hung in the air like poison. Marcus thought of Lily, of his promise. "You need to leave, Marcus, now." They left, but 3 days later, a courier delivered papers. His parents were filing for grandparents' rights, claiming he was an unfit parent due to financial instability and inability to provide adequate care. The lawyer he consulted with what little money he had left was blunt. "They have a case. You're unemployed, you have massive debt, and you're a single father with no support system. A judge might very well decide Sophie would be better off with your parents. What do I need to do?" "Get a job, any job." show stable income and stable housing, and pray. Marcus applied to 47 positions in 2 weeks. Every aerospace company, every tech firm, every engineering consultancy in the Seattle area. The interviews went well until they asked about his employment gap, until they saw the uncertainty in his eyes when they asked about overtime and travel. I have a young daughter. He'd explain, I need to be home by 6 for pickup. The responses were always the same. Understanding nods, sympathetic smiles, and then rejection emails 2 days later. He was standing in line at the unemployment office when he saw the flyer on the bulletin board. Sterling Technologies, immediate openings, custodial staff, evening shift, benefits after 90 days. Evening shift meant Sophie would be asleep. He could ask Mrs. Rodriguez next door to listen for her. It wasn't ideal, but it was something. The interview took 7 minutes. You're overqualified, the facilities manager said, looking at his resume with confusion. You have a PhD in electrical engineering. I need a job, Marcus said simply. I'm a hard worker. I show up on time. And I need the benefits. The manager studied him for a long moment. Okay, but I'm warning you, this isn't glamorous work. You'll be cleaning bathrooms, emptying trash, mopping floors. Some people can't handle that, especially people who are used to ... Other types of work. Marcus thought of Sophie's face, of Lily's voice. I can handle it. He started the next Monday. He wore the navy blue uniform with his name stitched above the pocket. He cleaned toilets and mopped floors and emptied trash cans in the same building where people designed the future. And every night, when he came home smelling of industrial cleaner, Sophie would run to him with her arms open wide. Daddy, you're home? She never cared that his clothes were cheap or that their apartment was small or that other kids had things she didn't. She only cared that he was there, best daddy ever, she'd say, wrapping her small arms around his neck. He'd hold her and think, I'm keeping my promise. Lily, no matter what it costs. Sophie Chen knew her daddy was special. The other kids at Hamilton Elementary had parents who wore fancy clothes and drove nice cars. Sophie's daddy wore a blue uniform and they took 2 buses to get to school, but her daddy helped with her homework every night, using words she didn't always understand but that made her feel smart. He packed her lunch with little notes tucked inside. You are brilliant. You are kind. You are loved. He never missed a school event. Not once. So when Mrs. Patterson announced that Friday was career day and parents were invited to come talk about their jobs, Sophie was the first to raise her hand. My daddy can come. He's going to talk about how he keeps everything clean so people can work safely. That night, she told Marcus about it while he made dinner. Spaghetti again, the cheap kind, but he made it special with cut-up hot dogs and extra Parmesan cheese. Career day. Marcus paused mid-stir. Yes, all the parents come and talk about their jobs. Brittany's mom is a doctor, and Josh's dad is a pilot, and you're a janitor. She said it with such pride that Marcus felt his throat tighten. Sweetheart, I don't know if, please, Daddy, you're the hardest working person I know. You should tell everyone. Marcus looked at his daughter's hopeful face. How could he explain that some parents might not want their children hearing from the janitor, that he might embarrass her? Let me think about it, okay? Okay, Sophie said, satisfied. Then, Daddy, why did you stop being an engineer? The question caught him off guard. He'd never explicitly told her about his old life. How did you know I was an engineer? I found your diploma, the big one, in the box under your bed. It says Doctor of Philosophy in Electrical Engineering. She pronounced each word carefully. What's that mean? Marcus set down the spoon and knelt to Sophie's eye level. It means I went to school for a long time to learn how to design special computers. So why do you clean buildings now? How did you explain sacrifice to a 6-year-old? How did you explain that sometimes love meant giving up everything you worked for? Because, Marcus said slowly, when Mommy got sick, I needed to take care of her. And then I needed to take care of you. And the most important thing isn't having the fanciest job. It's being there for the people you love. Sophie processed this. Her small forehead creased in concentration. So you stopped being an engineer because of me. Not because of you, sweetheart, for you. There's a difference. What's the difference? Because of you would mean you're a problem. For you means you're the reason everything good in my life. Makes sense. Sophie threw her arms around his neck. I still think you should come to career day. You're the best daddy ever. Even if you clean toilets. Marcus laughed despite himself. Especially if I clean toilets. Especially. Marcus had planned to skip career day. He'd tell Sophie he had to work, and she'd be disappointed but she'd understand. But Friday morning, as he was packing her lunch, Sophie handed him a piece of paper. It was a drawing A stick figure in a blue uniform holding a mop, surrounded by stars and hearts at the top. In her careful 6-year-old handwriting, "My hero, I made it for your presentation," she said. Marcus stared at the paper, at his daughter's proud smile, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't disappoint her. "Okay," he heard himself say. "I'll come." Sophie's shriek of joy was worth whatever humiliation waited. We're at a crucial moment in Marcus and Sophie's story. If you're feeling the emotion of this journey, please take a second to like this video and drop a comment below. Tell us, have you ever had to make a sacrifice for someone you loved? Your stories inspire us to keep sharing these moments of human resilience, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We have so many more stories to share with you. Now, back to career day. Hamilton Elementary's gymnasium had been transformed into a showcase of professional pride. Brittany's mother, in her white coat, had brought a stethoscope and was letting kids listen to their own heartbeats. Josh's father, in his pilot's uniform, had set up a flight simulator on his laptop. There was a chef with a portable cooking station, a firefighter with actual gear, a software developer with a coding demonstration. And then there was Marcus in his cleaning uniform, with his mop and bucket. He felt every eye on him as he sat up in the corner Sophie had claimed. Some parents looked away quickly, embarrassed for him. Others stared with undisguised curiosity or pity. Sophie didn't notice any of it. She was beaming, arranging Marcus's cleaning supplies with the care of a museum curator setting up a priceless exhibition. "Okay, Daddy's ready," she announced to her classmates. 6 children wandered over, then 8. By the time Marcus started talking, half the class had gathered around, their curiosity genuine and unjudging in the way only children can be. "So," Marcus began, his voice steadier than he felt, "I'm a custodial engineer at Sterling Technologies. Does anyone know what that means?" "You're a janitor," one boy shouted. "That's right, I clean buildings. But it's more than just cleaning. See, I have to understand chemistry, knowing which cleaning solutions are safe for which surfaces. I have to understand safety protocols, how to make sure no one slips on a wet floor. I even have to understand a little bit about the building's infrastructure, the plumbing, the electrical systems, where everything connects." He was warming to his subject now, falling into the teaching rhythm he'd once used with graduate students. "And the most important part of my job, making sure everyone else can do their job safely and comfortably. The engineers designing new technology, they need clean workspaces. The people in the cafeteria, they need sanitary conditions. Even the CEO, he needs someone to make sure the building doesn't fall apart around him." "Do you clean toilets?" a girl asked bluntly. "I do," Marcus said with dignity, "and I'm really good at it." The kids giggled, but it wasn't cruel. They were fascinated by his honesty. Sophie raised her hand, even though she didn't need to. "My daddy used to be an engineer. Like, a real engineer who designed computers for spaceships." The room went quiet. Marcus felt his face flush. That single quotes s. "That's true," he admitted. "Before your mom, before I became a custodial engineer, I designed microprocessor systems for aerospace applications." "So why did you stop?" Mrs. Patterson asked gently. Marcus looked at Sophie, at her trusting face, at the pride shining in her eyes. "Because I made a promise to someone very important, and keeping that promise meant more than any job title." He didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. The way he looked at his daughter said everything. The presentation ended. The children moved on to the firefighter's gear, but Marcus noticed Mrs. Patterson watching him with something like wonder in her eyes. "Mr. Kama-chan," she said as people were packing up. "That was ... Sophie's very lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one," Marcus said simply. Sophie grabbed his hand as they walked to the car. "See, I told you you were special." Marcus squeezed her small fingers. "We should get you home, kiddo. I have work tonight, at the big building, the one with all the important people." "That's the one, Daddy." Sophie looked up at him. "Can I come with you sometime? I want to see where you work. Maybe someday." "Sweetheart." He had no idea how soon someday would arrive. The call came at 4:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, right as Marcus was picking Sophie up from after school. "Care, Mr. Kama-chan." The voice was tight with stress. "This is Mrs. Rodriguez, your neighbor." Marcus's heart lurched. "Mrs. Rodriguez only called for emergencies. Is everything okay?" "I'm so sorry. I had a fall. I'm at Swedish hospital. They're keeping me overnight for observation. I can't watch Sophie tonight." Marcus's mind raced. His shift started at 6 p.m. He couldn't miss work. He was still on probationary status, and the union benefits didn't kick in for another 2 weeks. Sophie needed those benefits. He needed those benefits. "I understand," he said. Don't worry about it, feel better. He hung up and looked at Sophie, who was already sensing something was wrong. Is Mrs. Rodriguez okay? She will be, but, sweetheart, I need you to do something very important tonight. I need you to come to work with me. Sophie's eyes went wide. Really? To the big building? Really? But you have to promise to be very quiet and stay exactly where I tell you to stay. This is important, Sophie. I could get in trouble if anyone sees you, I promise. Daddy, I'll be invisible, like a ninja. Marcus smiled despite his anxiety. Exactly like a ninja. Sterling Technologies' headquarters at night was a different world. The daytime buzz of hundreds of employees was replaced by the hum of Vic systems and the occasional night worker burning the midnight oil. Marcus snuck Sophie in through the loading dock, her small hand clutching his. He'd packed her tablet with downloaded movies, headphones, a blanket, and snacks. He set up a nest for her in the custodial closet on the 45th floor. You stay right here, he said firmly. Watch your movies. If anyone comes, you hide behind these boxes. I'll check on you every 30 minutes, okay? Daddy, Sophie was already settling in, excited by the adventure of it all. She didn't understand the risk, didn't know that bringing a child to the workplace violated at least 3 company policies and could cost him his job. For the first 2 hours, everything went smoothly. Marcus worked faster than usual, checking on Sophie every 20 minutes instead of 30. She was fine, engrossed in her tablet, munching on goldfish crackers. Then he got to the 47th floor. The executive wing was supposed to be empty. It always was by 8 p.m., but tonight, lights blazed in the main conference room. Voices carried down the hallway, angry voices, stressed voices. Marcus hesitated. He could come back later, but his schedule was tight. He needed to finish this floor before the overnight security rotation, and it was just trash removal. He'd be in and out in 5 minutes. He propped the door open. Protocol required it when he was in a room and began emptying the waste baskets around the enormous conference table. Shareholders are going to crucify us if we don't have a solution by the end of the quarter. The entire IoT division is hemorrhaging money. We need innovation, not excuses. Marcus tried to tune it out, but he couldn't help recognizing the technical terms. They were talking about smart building systems, about integration problems he'd solved a dozen times in his aerospace work. He was almost done when he heard the small voice behind him. Daddy. Marcus's blood ran cold. He spun around to find Sophie standing in the doorway, her tablet clutched to her chest, her face uncertain. I got scared, she said in a tiny voice. You were gone too long. 10 pairs of executive eyes turned toward the door. The room fell silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Marcus wanted the floor to open and swallow him. This was it. He'd be fired. And without this job, without benefits, his parents' custody case would be a slam dunk. Sophie, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. But Sophie wasn't looking at him. She was looking at the room full of people in expensive suits, looking at them with the bold curiosity of a child who hadn't yet learned to be intimidated by power. Excuse me, she said clearly. Which one of you is Mr. Sterling? Sophie? No. A man at the head of the table raised his hand slowly. He was in his late 50s, silver hair, sharp eyes that had evaluated 1,000 deals and missed nothing. I'm William Sterling. Sophie walked toward him with her tablet still clutched to her chest. Marcus moved to stop her, but something in Sterling's raised hand froze him. My dad cleans your toilets, Sophie announced, but he's the best daddy ever. The room was silent. Marcus could feel the blood draining from his face. Sophie, please. But Sophie wasn't done. She looked around the room with a child's absolute certainty in her own righteousness. He helps me with my homework every night. He makes my lunch with little notes. He comes to all my school stuff. He works really hard so I can have a good life. Her voice got smaller, more uncertain. I know cleaning toilets isn't as cool as your jobs, but my daddy used to design computers for spaceships. He was really smart. He still is really smart. Sweetie, Marcus started. It's true. Sophie's voice rose. He's a doctor. Not the kind that helps sick people, but the kind that knows really hard math and science. Sterling leaned forward, his expression unreadable. Is that so? Yes, I can prove it. Before Marcus could stop her, Sophie thrust her tablet at Sterling. See? On the screen was a photograph. Marcus's breath caught. He'd forgotten it was on there. He'd taken a picture of his MIT diploma last week when Sophie asked to see it. Wanting to understand the fancy words, Sterling took the tablet, studying the image. His expression shifted, something flickering in his eyes. He looked at Marcus, really looked at him. For the first time, Dr. Marcus Chen, he read aloud. PhD in Electrical Engineering, MIT. Dissertation, Novel approaches to low-power microprocessor, designed for aerospace applications. He paused. You're that Marcus Chen. You published that groundbreaking work on thermal management in space-grade processors. Marcus felt like he was in a dream or a nightmare. You ... You know my work. Know it. Your dissertation solved a problem we'd been throwing money at 40 years. Sterling set down the tablet. What the hell are you doing cleaning my toilets? The question wasn't cruel. It was genuinely confused. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. What was he supposed to say? That life had crushed him. That sometimes brilliance wasn't enough when the universe decided to break you. My wife got sick, he finally said, his voice rough. She died. I had medical debt. I had a daughter to raise. I took the job I could get when I could get it. That let me be home for her. He looked at Sophie, who was watching him with those tooled eyes. She's my priority. Everything else is just ... details. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Sterling did something unexpected. He smiled, not a professional smile, but something genuine and almost sad. Gentlemen, he said, addressing his executives, I think we just found our solution. And it was emptying our trash cans. You all heard the problem, Sterling continued, gesturing to the whiteboards covered in technical diagrams and financial projections. Our IOT integration is failing. We've spent $3 million in 6 months, and we're no closer to a working solution than when we started. He turned to Marcus. Dr. Chen, hypothetically, if you were consulting on this project, where would you start? Marcus glanced at Sophie, who nodded encouragingly. He stepped closer to the whiteboard, his years of training overriding his janitor's uniform. Your problem isn't the IoT devices themselves, he said, studying the diagrams. It's the handshaking protocol between legacy building systems and new smart sensors. You're trying to force modern low-power wireless to communicate with industrial systems designed 30 years ago. The architecture is fundamentally incompatible. Exactly, one of the executives said, which is why we're stuck. No, Marcus said, warming to the problem despite himself. You're stuck because you're trying to replace the entire infrastructure. That's why it costs millions. What you need is a translation layer, a middleware that speaks both languages. Legacy on one side, modern on the other. He grabbed a marker and started sketching. Within 5 minutes, he'd outlined an architecture that had 3 executives leaning forward. Their previous exhaustion forgotten, the hardware costs would be minimal. Marcus continued, most of what you need already exists in industrial control systems. It's just software creating a protocol bridge that can handle asynchronous communication between systems with different timing requirements. Sterling watched him with an expression Marcus couldn't read. When Marcus finally stopped, setting down the marker, Sterling said, and how long would that take to implement? 6 weeks for a proof of concept, 3 months for a full deployment. Marcus caught himself. Theoretically, if you had the right team, Dr. Chen, Sterling said slowly, I'd like to offer you a position. Director of Integrated Systems, salary of $180,000 annually, full benefits starting immediately, equity package, and flexible hours so you can be there for your daughter. Marcus stared. The number was impossible. It was more than he'd made even at his peak at Vertex. It was enough to pay off the medical debt, enough to secure Sophie's future, enough to make his parents' custody case evaporate like morning fog. He looked at Sophie, who was grinning so wide her face might split. I don't have ... I haven't done this work in years. I don't even have a computer at home. You'll have everything you need. Office, team, resources. Sterling stood, extending his hand. I didn't build this company by missing opportunities when they clean my toilets. What do you say? Marcus thought of Lily, of his promise to her, of the past 3 years of barely surviving, of pride swallowed, of dignity sacrificed, all for Sophie, and he thought, I kept the promise, I kept our daughter, and now, maybe, just maybe, we get to do more than just survive. Yes, he said, shaking Sterling's hand. Yes, sir, thank you. Sophie launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his waist. I told you, Daddy, I told you you were special. Marcus made the call that night from Sterling's office, his office now, though that still felt surreal. Sophie sat in the big leather chair, spinning in circles while Marcus dialed a number he'd avoided for 3 years. His father answered on the second ring. Marcus, Dad, I wanted you to know that I've accepted a position at Sterling Technologies, Director of Integrated Systems. I start Monday. Silence on the other end. Then, Director, at Sterling. Yes, the custody case you filed. You can withdraw it. Sophie's staying with me. She's happy. She's healthy. And she's proud of me. His voice hardened. You told me I was a failure. Maybe by your standards, I was. But I kept my daughter. I kept my promise to Lily. And now I'm going to give Sophie the life she deserves. But we're doing it our way, on our terms, Marcus. If you want to be part of Sophie's life, you're welcome to try. But you do it by respecting the choices I've made. Respecting the man I am, not the man you wish I'd been. He hung up before his father could respond. Sophie stopped spinning. Was that Grandpa? Yeah, baby. Are they still trying to take me away? Marcus knelt in front of her. No one's taking you anywhere. I promised your mom. And I promise you, we're a team, forever, okay? Okay, Daddy. She hugged him tight. I knew everything would be okay. You're the best daddy ever. Even when you clean toilets. Especially when I clean toilets, Marcus corrected with a smile. The conference room on the 47th floor of Sterling Technologies looked exactly the same. Floor-to-ceiling windows, mahogany table, the hum of ventilation in the background. But everything else had changed. Marcus Chen sat at the table now, not beside it. His team had just finished presenting their latest innovation, a building management system that had cut Sterling's operational costs by 23% and was being licensed to corporations worldwide. The custodian who cleaned the room now was a young man named David, working his way through community college. Marcus made a point of learning his name, of asking about his classes, of seeing him. Good work today, team, Sterling said, closing his laptop. Dr. Chen, particularly impressive presentation. The Saudi deal looks solid. After the meeting cleared, Sterling lingered. You know, he said, I've been thinking about that night when your daughter walked in here. I'm still embarrassed about that, Marcus admitted. Don't be. She saved this company millions of dollars. Sterling paused. But more than that, she taught me something. I've built this empire by evaluating people, by seeing potential, recognizing talent. And I almost missed you completely. You know how many times I walked past you in the hallway and never even made eye contact. Marcus said nothing. Your daughter saw what I couldn't. She saw value where I saw invisible labor. She saw brilliance where I saw a uniform. Sterling shook his head. I've been thinking about how many other people I've missed, how much potential I've overlooked because I was too busy looking at titles instead of people. So what are you going to do about it? I'm starting a program. Tuition reimbursement for all hourly employees, GED programs, community college partnerships, mentorship opportunities. I want to make sure the next Marcus Chen doesn't spend 3 years invisible because I was too blind to see him. Marcus felt his throat tighten. That's good, really good. Your daughter's in 3rd grade now, right? Yeah, still top of her class. Still tells everyone her daddy's the best. Sterling smiled. She's right. 8-year-old Sophie stood at the front of her classroom, a poster board under her arm. It was career day again, and this time her father couldn't come. He was in Dubai, finalizing a major contract. But Sophie didn't need him there. She had something better. She held up her poster. On one side was a photo of Marcus in his janitor's uniform, mop in hand. On the other was a photo of him in a suit at a ribbon-cutting ceremony for Sterling's new green building initiative. This is my dad, she told the class. Some people think the second picture is better than the first one, but I think they're the same. How are they the same? Mrs. Patterson asked gently. Because in both pictures, he's working hard to take care of me, and in both pictures, he's teaching me something important. What's he teaching you? Sophie thought for a moment. That your job doesn't make you special. How you love people makes you special. My dad cleaned toilets, and he was the best dad ever. Now he designs buildings, and he's still the best dad ever. The work changed, but he didn't, she smiled. Remembering, also, he taught me that sometimes the most important people are the ones nobody sees. The people who clean the toilets so everyone else can work. The people who show up even when it's hard. The people who keep their promises even when it costs them everything. Mrs. Patterson wiped her eyes. Your father sounds like an extraordinary man. He is. Sophie agreed. He always has been. It just took other people a while to notice. If Marcus and Sophie's story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this with someone who needs to remember that dignity isn't defined by job titles. It's defined by love, sacrifice, and the courage to keep showing up. Leave a comment below. Have you ever been invisible to people who should have seen you? Or have you learned to see the extraordinary in the people others overlook? We share these stories because we believe that every person has value, every sacrifice matters, and every act of love creates ripples we can't always see. This is Soul Lift Stories, where we believe that light always finds its way back. Thank you for watching, for caring, and for being part of this community. Until next time, remember, the best of who we are isn't shown in our titles. It's shown in how we love the people who need us most.